Hey guys, as a gamer, I'm sure it's obvious I don't have any friends. But you know what I do have? Mario Party 8 for the Nintendo Wii. Mario Party 8 was the first Mario Party game to arrive on the Nintendo Wii, coming out in North America on May 29th, 2007, which also meant it was the first in the series to interact with the Wii's main gimmick, motion controls. It might seem inconceivable now, but in the grand old year of 2007, everyone was moving. Some moved up, down, left, right. As opposed to nowadays, where we're all kind of just... Starting at Mario Party 8, we're greeted by none other than MC Ballyhoo and Big Top, who brought the Star Carnival into town. These two are the hosts of this game, and they are just chock full of charm and mystery. Like, I don't know who they are, where they came from, or what they could do to me, but just taking one good look at them, I know they're gonna throw a damn good party. This time around, we have a whopping 14 characters available to play as, with the 12 you start with being the same cast you had in Mario Party 7. There's fan favorites like Mario, Green Mario, and everyone else. I don't know who these other people are. As you can see, there are 2 more characters that we have yet to unlock, but we'll get back to them later. Hopping into party mode, we finally get the opportunity to look over the game's boards, 6 in total, which I think is pretty fitting for a Mario Party game. There's really just enough variety here that you won't get bored. Get it? Bored? Like bored, but it's bored because it's a board game, and you won't get bored playing board games because there's... Oh, my head. What the hell was that about? What was I saying? Oh, boards. Boards are a staple in Mario Party, and Mario Party 8 is no exception to that rule. So, let's go over them. DK's Treetop Temple is the first board in this game, and admittedly, I find it fairly forgettable. While it doesn't do anything in particular wrong, I just don't find either the happening spaces or the general theme of the board to be all that interesting. I like the giant statue of DK in the middle, but just half a year later Mario Party DS came out and did it better in my eyes, by making it the focal point of the board instead of just being a small piece. Now don't get me wrong, there's plenty to enjoy here, like going down the Treetop water slide, being chased by monkeys, and getting stabbed in the ass. Yeah, you kinda just get a spear in your ass for who knows what, unless you get paid for it, I guess. There's also the main gimmick of this board. Whenever you pass one of these arrows, you have the choice of whether or not you want to pay DK to shove you into a barrel cannon and blast you out, hopefully leaving more than just your charred remains behind. Depending on the cannon you use, you can land on one of 2 spaces, both placing you before prime star spawning locations. It's a great way to get across the map quickly when you need to. While we're here, one thing that's important to bring up is candies, which are the items of this game. Instead of the orb system that had been the standard from Mario Party 5 through 7, the items got a pretty large overhaul. Orbs were more often used as traps to be placed along the board and activated when an opponent landed on or past them, but candies are the opposite of that. All the candies in the game do something immediately and generally affect yourself in some way, so positioning is a bit more important here than other games. Another thing to know is that not all the candies in the game are on every board. Each board gets its own pool of them. That all to say, DK's Treetop Temple doesn't really have any candies that take advantage of the board. One of the fun ones is the weekly candy, which turns you into a bunch of little U's who steal candy from anyone you pass, but other than that, there isn't too much here. Overall, DK's Treetop Temple kind of just exists. It's not terrible, but it's not that great either. It's the kind of board you throw new players on to teach them the ropes of Mario Party and how the general formula works, and it does just fine at that. You can have fun on it, of course, but in my opinion, it's not a very memorable board and definitely one of the weaker links in the game. To its credit, however, the dinosaur from Mario Kart Double Dash's Dino Dino Jungle is here, and that adds some bonus points in my book. Her name is Nossi, by the way. Make sure to say hi to him if you ever get the chance. Now, you wouldn't think walking a straight line would be that fun, but Goomba's Booty Boardwalk has me second guessing that notion. This board is 60 spaces in a row with no deviations, so everyone's always on the same path. What makes this board great is twofold. You have the board spaces and item play. The spaces on the board, specifically the happening spaces, are really charming and fun. You've got the ones next to these blue pianos who fish up a candy and let you have it as they don't want to spoil their dinner. How sweet. Or too sweet? Whatever. And if you land on the ones next to the yellow pianos, they'll do the exact same thing I do whenever I see one of these things. There's also what's probably the most memorable happening space in the game, the one 58 spaces into the board, only 3 away from meeting up with Captain Goomba. If you land here, his mateys will show you what landlubbers deserve. Death by cannon. Then there's the item play on this board. I hadn't mentioned it yet, but you don't actually have to pay for stars here. If you make it Captain Goomba, he's impressed enough to just hand one to you. Pretty cool on his part if you ask me. This also means you can spend your coins a lot more freely this time around. There's a few spots where you can pay to ride a dolphin and skip a bunch of spaces, but there's also my preferred choice, going all in on candies at the shop. Just like the other boards, not every candy in the game shows up here, but the ones that do are just perfect. You got the staples of the twice and thrice candy allowing you to move farther, the Springo candy turns you into a spring, don't ask me how that works, and if you plan things out well, you can skip a ton of spaces. You got the Bolo and Thwomp candies that can destroy your opponent's life savings, and you have the best for last, the Blowaway candy. It turns you into a goddamn tornado. Feel free to ask me how that works. And if you go past anyone, it will send them all the way to the start. Doesn't matter how far along they were, they get the wonderful opportunity to do it all over again. Goomba's Booty Boardwalk is a chaotic mess against your foes, and it's just full of that Mario Party whimsy. You truly can't go wrong taking treasure, riding on dolphins, and showing those landlubbers what they deserve for thinking they could beat me in a game of Mario Party. Now, King Boo's Haunted Hideaway is a very interesting board. Its gimmick is that there's multiple paths and you have no way of knowing which one's the right one. If you choose right, you're greeted by King Boo and get to purchase a star at the price of 10 points, which I think is fair. In getting a star, the mansion gets hit with some makeover mojo and the whole board resets anew. If you choose wrong, however, you'll get thrown into a pitfall against your will and have to start back at the beginning. I think a great way to describe this board is that it's volatile. You're either running away with the game or you're fighting every chance you get. The happening spaces this time only add to the chaos of it all. If you're unlucky enough, you can run into some piranha plants who will happily eat 10 yummy coins just like I used to do as a kid. But on the flip side, there's a little board exclusive chance time space called Pickpocket Pinball, where you spin a roulette wheel with the chance to steal coins, candies, or even stars. It doesn't come into play often, but my heart always starts racing when Pickpocket Pinball provides its perfectly pleasant presence, prodding my perseverance and purpose. Another aspect of King Boo's Haunted Hideaway that I think helps it out is that the DK space flips the rules of the board on its head. If you don't know, the DK and Bowser spaces do different things on each of the boards, some of them being a lot more interesting than others. On the Haunted Hideaway, if you land on DK, he'll block every single pitfall on the board until it gets reset, and if you find him, he'll grant you a star free of charge. This changes everyone's priority into trying to find a pitfall as soon as possible, in some cases even making sure to go back to where someone fell in just a few turns prior. It's an interesting change in the pacing of the board when someone lands on DK, and I think that's pretty cool. Bowser, on the other hand, isn't nearly as interesting. He too blocks all the pitfalls, with the caveat being he'll take a star from you if you have the misfortune of finding him, and then he'll drop you in the pit. Not cool, man. King Boo's Haunted Hideaway has some of the highest highs and some of the lowest lows in the entire game. When you're winning, you feel like you're on top of the world, a clairvoyant who always goes the right way. But when you're losing, God, do you feel like an idiot who just can never figure out the right path. The theming of this board is great, and the overall gimmick of it changing its layout every single star makes it really engaging every time you play. This board isn't my favorite of the bunch, but it's definitely up there for me. Now we get to Shy Guy's Perplex Express. I mean, theming alone, this board is the best to ever do it. Riding on a moving train at breakneck speeds is so damn cool. The goal is to get through all 5 cabins of the train and meet with the conductor at the end to purchase a star, after which you get to run across the top until you get back to the start and the cycle begins anew. The board itself is quite small, the whole loop being only 39 spaces, but that's what makes the happening spaces shine on the Express. 3 of them, when landed on, cause the train to split apart and Magic Koopa seizes the opportunity to move the cabin in front all the way to the back. Now, it depends on where you are, but this could either be the best or worst thing to ever happen to you. Same goes for the happening space in the kitchen. If you land on it, you'll get egged on to check out what's wrong with the exhaust duct, and the most logical thing you can think of happens. It sucks you up and spits you out the other side of the train. The remaining happening spaces all have their own fun events going on. One of them has a Shy Guy throwing his life savings into a fire, causing it to fly out the chimney and into the pockets of anyone on top of the train. Another will have world famous superstar Holly Koopa offering to buy a candy off your hands, which doesn't really make sense because there's a shop 1 train car away from her, but I respect it. While we're speaking of Holly Koopa, there's another happening space that'll have the conductor come over and tell you that her candy was stolen, and you have to tell him which cabin either Bandit or Mouse has been hiding in the whole game. It requires you to be paying attention to where both of them have been, which I think is pretty neat, but to be fair, sometimes you can just see them through the window, which makes his request kind of trivial. Wait, if he's out here, then who's driving the train? Great, they killed Wario. Anyway, while I'm working on setting up Wario's wake, I also wanted to go over the lucky space. There's one of these on nearly every board, and for the most part they all do the same thing. When you land on it, you'll get taken to a new area that has a line of blue spaces with coins on the top. And when you get to the end of the little path, you'll be granted a star for the sweet price of nothing. If you're nearby, it's more than worth a wish to the great MC Ballyhoo to hopefully get lucky enough to land on it. The reason I'm bringing it up all around this board is that it's my favorite lucky space for one reason and one reason only. When you land on it, you get dropped off at the Payday way station and the train continues on without you. Now, how do you think you'll get back after you get your free star? That's right, some Shy Guys on a handcar come over to pick you up and pump iron until you catch up to the train. Now the train's not going at absurd speed at this point, but you've spent the least to turn off and it hasn't stopped since. These Shy Guys are doing God's work, and for that, I salute them. The Bowser space is also pretty fun on this map. With DK, he just shows up and offers you a free star, which doesn't really change how you play the board, but when you land on Bowser, he'll pull up with a Bad Breath Express, and if you get to the front of the train, your star is getting yoinked. And you're possibly getting killed, no confirmation on that part. When Bowser shows up, the entire game plan shifts from getting to the front of the train as quickly as possible to slowing down your movement as much as possible. The Magic Koopa and kitchen spaces that were more of a nuisance before could very well be the thing that saved you from Bowser's fury. I love Shy Guys Perplex Express. While the board is quite simple, I always have so much fun playing on it. I love the theming, the characters, and the happening spaces so much. Hell, I might even consider it my favorite board in the entire game. After hopping off the Express, we finally arrived at Koopa's Tycoon Town. Now, it doesn't get much better than this. This town is what separates the big Koopas from the little Koopas. Koopa's Tycoon Town is arguably the greatest board in the entire Mario Party series. You're in a bustling town surrounded by your fellow tycoons, and your goal is to hoard up as much cash as possible to buy as many hotels as you can. Whoever has the most coins in a hotel is the owner of it, and the more coins a hotel has, the more stars it's worth. This board really makes you feel like a tycoon, where you're doing everything in your power to accumulate wealth as quickly as possible to the detriment of others. At this point I can make a comparison about how this is like the real world, but I'm literally playing Yoshi, so whatever I have to say isn't very important. The town's happening spaces mostly revolve around money in some way, like getting money dumped on you by an excavator or winning them from the Koopa booth, which admittedly I forgot even existed. Truthfully, I don't know how this guy is still in business. I have nothing against him, but my life would be better if he was fired. I lied, I actually don't like anything about him, sitting all smug in his booth like he owns the place. You know, I applied for the booth member position nearly 2 decades ago, but this stupid turtle took it from me. It should be me standing in that booth, not him. What a disgrace of an establishment. Maybe if I give the excavator guy some money, he'll swing the thing into the damn booth. Anyway, while we're talking about bribery and crime, there's a couple happening spaces you can land on that will make an old friend stop on by to do some, well, shifty dealings if you know what I mean. After a little chat, he'll hop on over to a hotel and take back the money that I deserved in the first place. The only downside is that people don't like it when you steal from them, but that problem gets solved when you don't have anyone to play with anymore. Now, in contrast to Bandit stealing coins from a hotel, landing on DK space will make Donkey Kong pull up. Being chauffeured and probably the coolest car to ever exist. What does this guy named do, you ask? Well, he'll head on over to a hotel and put a boatload of coins in your name. Wait, did he take my identity? God damn it, not again. At this point, I'm sure it's fairly clear that the goal of this board is to accumulate as much wealth as possible while pushing your opponents down, and the candies here do everything they can to help with that very endeavor. The Cash Zap candy turns you into what might as well be the next incarnate of Zeus, granting you the ability to smite a foe and cut their total savings in half. This candy can be insanely strong if someone's getting a bit too greedy and hoarding too much wealth. Truly a great equalizer. On the other side of the coin, there's the Vampire Candy, which also lets you spin a wheel, but instead of figuring out who you're taking from, you're figuring out how much you're taking from everyone. A little bit of that vampire special, if you know what I mean. I think it's fair to say that Koopa's Tycoon Town is near the top of most people's lists, and for good reason. It is the pinnacle of the investment type board in Mario Party. There's no other board in the series that'll let you hire a robber in one turn, to then have an ape in a sports car pull up to give you a cash injection in the next. I think this board does just about everything right, and is well deserving of the praise it gets for being one of the greatest boards in the entire Mario Party series. Now, we can't talk about party game without talking about the main draw of a party game. Playing by yourself. And you don't have to worry about that here, because MC Ballyhoo's got us covered with his world famous Star Battle Arena. A single player mode where you're vying to win a lifetime supply of candy. Here we'll need to do a 1v1 on all 5 boards, winning each board by achieving the conditions set by MC Ballyhoo. Seeing as we covered these maps already, I won't go into too much detail here, but I will let you know the conditions to win on each one. On DK's Treetop Temple, we need to get 2 stars before our opponent. Nothing here is different from the usual, so we're able to clear it pretty cleanly. On Goomba's Booty Boardwalk, the first to pay Captain Goomba 50 coins gets a star and victory, moving us to King Boo's Haunted Hideaway, which is another 2-star joint. But now the board doesn't reset, so the first one to find King Boo twice will come away with a win here. Now, don't blush, but Holly Koopa's in town. Our 4th mission has us riding Shy Guys Perplex Express with the goal of collecting enough cash just to talk to Holly Koopa. To add insult to injury, every time we walk past her, she hits us with the, well, money talks and I don't hear 50 coins yet. Well, I don't appreciate that, Holly Koopa. You think I don't have 50 coins? Well, I'll show you what 50 coins looks like. Last but not least, we have Koopa's Tycoon Town. Our goal is to be the first to 4 stars. This board is the one that goes through the most dramatic change, as we lose the entire back street and are only playing with 3 hotels instead of the usual 5. Other than that, it's some old school Tycoon mania. After securing a victory, we go to celebrate winning our final match, to then learn our prize wasn't a boatload candy, but the coveted Star Rod. And with that, are you kidding me? This stupid turtle called me both a moron and a chicken? At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he was working with that stupid booth Koopa. Anyway, I'm not gonna let this guy just walk all over me. I gotta do what anyone would do. Time to go to outer space. With this, we've reached the final board in the game, Bowser's Warped Orbit. Of course, Bowser isn't gonna fight us himself. He's far more of a chicken than I'll ever be. Instead, he sends out one of 2 lackeys, either Hammer Bro or Blooper. Now, this is a star stealing board, meaning that all the stars in the game are given to the players immediately, and our goal is to steal them from each other. Now, how does one steal stars? With candy, of course. This board has 2 exclusive candies that you can use to steal your opponent's stars. First, there's the bullet candy, which lets you hit 3 dice blocks and whoever you run into, you'll steal 1 star from. Then there's the Bowser candy, which turns you into the big man himself. Well, more like you're wearing a mascot costume of the man himself, but same difference. This candy lets you take 2 stars from over your pass, with the caveat being 2 dice to hit over 3. To facilitate this star-stealing madness, the board is laid out in one large circle that's broken up by a few spots where the path branches before converging back together. For these branching paths, the direction you go is entirely random, which means they can be an effective way to dodge an opponent's bullet or Bowser candy if you just so happen to be lucky enough. Unfortunately, the happening spaces on this board just aren't very interesting. There's a couple that move you around, like Bowser chasing you or taking a tube from one side to the other. Another will make Bowser flip his patented big-ass lever, reversing the direction of travel around the board. And the final one will have Magic Koopa pull up to shuffle everyone's candies. Bowser's Warped Orbit is unfortunately my least favorite board in the game. I've never been a huge fan of star-stealing boards, and this one's really no exception. I think the biggest part holding it back is the fact that it always looks like you're in the same place. There isn't anything that makes one part of the board stand out from another like you'd see on Goomba's Booty Boardwalk or Shy Guy's Perplex Express. I wouldn't say it's a bad board by any means, it's just kind of there. Of course, we still have the matter of the Star Battle Arena to attend to. With the victory over Blooper, we're finally ready to take Bowser head on in one final minigame, Superstar Showdown. A head-to-head showdown where we have to use a Superstar Rod to take down Bowser and his Koopa Clown Car. The more damage he takes, the stronger he becomes, but after enough shots, we're finally able to take him down. And with a successful mission, we've achieved everything we could dream of. Bowser's been thwarted, we've run our lifetime supply of candy, earned the Superstar Rod, and have truly, undoubtedly, become the Superstar. While extremely basic, I think the Star Battle Arena does a good job at adding the single-player experience that can be a bit lacking from other titles in this series. Having a little bit of story as to why you're doing these battles and having Bowser come at the end for one grand finale really just adds a whole lot of charm and character to the experience. With the boards out of the way, we should go over the other half of any Mario Party, the minigames. Mario Party 8 has a total of 73 minigames, 18 4-player, 9 1v3s, 10 2v2s, 5 battle, 19 duel, and 8 extras. Overall, I'd say Mario Party 8's minigame selection is pretty alright. With more than half of them using motion or pointer controls, these minigames feel a lot different than they did in the previous games. But I don't think that's a bad thing. There are a lot of minigames using the new control schemes that are a ton of fun, like Shake It Up, where you have to do this as fast as possible, Swerve in Skies, where you're doing everything in your power to dodge the solo player's bullets, and my personal favorite minigame, Cut from the Team, a 100% luck-based minigame where you just point at the screen to pick which rope you want to cut, potentially leading to your demise. Just the fact that you have to actively point at and simultaneously press A and B to cut the rope with the scissors makes it feel like you're in complete control of your fate. No matter what happens, the one who cuts the rope is you. If you choose right, you live. If you choose wrong, you're gone. God, I love gambling. Of course, not every minigame is great. Rotor Madness is boring, the challenge minigames you play in Star Battle Arena are too easy, and then there's Flip the Chimp. What you're supposed to do is flick the Wiimote left or right to make your chimp flip to the other side to dodge falling coconuts. But I swear to God, half the time this chimp just doesn't listen. I flick the Wiimote and the chimp will just stay there motionless until a coconut falls on his head. No matter how many years go by, I still struggle with this minigame just as much as I did back then. In addition to free play where you can just choose which minigame to play, there's also a few minigame modes that allow you to play a bunch of minigames with an overarching objective. While they're pretty simple, they can be quite a bit of fun. My favorite of the bunch is the tile flipping one, where after every minigame the winner gets to flip tiles and whoever has the most at the end wins. Leaving the minigame tent, there's just a couple smaller tents left, the Fun Bazaar and the Extras Zone. At the Fun Bazaar, you're able to spend the carnival cards you get from playing the game to buy various things, like little carnival figurines, music, and some extra minigames to play. It's little things like these that I think add so much to the game. There's no practical reason that you'd be able to buy figurines and watch them do a little show, but that's the beauty in it. These kinds of things are here because the developers thought they'd be a fun little gift to add to the game, and I'm happy they did. Be careful though. For the love of God, never buy heckling voices. After you buy it, whenever you shake your Wiimote when it isn't your turn, your character will taunt your opponents. What the game doesn't tell you is that there's no way to turn it off, and that thing will go off at the slightest acceleration of your Wiimote. Buying this thing is like opening Pandora's box on your save file, and the thing about Pandora's box is, once it's open, it cannot be closed again. With that, we have one last area to explore, the extras zone. Here's where you can play the 8 extra minigames, most of which you purchase at the shop. I'm not entirely sure why these are here, but they serve as a fun breakaway from what the main game provides. Funnily enough, this is the only place in the game where you can actually choose your Mii to play as, and it's pretty interesting watching your Mii dueling Yoshi in a game of table tennis. None of the minigames here are all that in-depth, but as little extra throw-ins, they're a lot more fun than you would think. We've got bowling, table tennis, some puzzle games, that Shy Guy flag raising one from earlier Mario parties where you get killed if you get it wrong. There's one where you're driving a hover car as fast as possible trying to dodge obstacles, and for some reason a 30-man moped race. The wildest thing about this one is just the variety of characters partaking in the race. I just love it. Before we wrap it all up, there was one last thing I wanted to go over. Charm. Charm is one of the most important aspects in games for me. While a lack of charm doesn't mean a game is bad necessarily, I think games that are full of charm turn out to be some of the best. I don't have a concrete definition for what I think charm in a game entails, but I think if a game has a general vibe of being something created with a lot of love and heart, then you'll be able to see its charm throughout the experience. In Mario Party 8's case, I think that the game has charm in spades. MC Ballyhoo and Big Top are a huge part of that, of course, but even the little details like the spaces having different border or shape depending on the board you're playing on, or the candy transformations where you become a spring, a bowling ball, or even a sprite of your character all add this wacky but cohesive feel to the game. Overall, I think a carnival fits within the world of Mario Party really well. It gives the vibe of a grand show that's intended to be tons of fun, and I think Mario Party 8 delivers quite well in that regard. The hosts, MC Ballyhoo and Big Top, are the best hosts in the entire series. They just exude this upbeat party energy that I don't think's been topped since. Most of the boards in this game are extremely memorable, with some of the best theming in the series, and on top of that, each one offers a vastly different experience from the others. The candy system is a ton of fun, with characters transforming in weirdly charming ways, being by far my favorite batch of items in any of the games. And while a couple minigames fall flat, I think the overall selection is pretty good. I could play these for hours on end without getting even a bit tired. That's not even to mention all the extras you can interact with in this game. This game is weird, but in a wonderfully charming way, and I'm not sure if any other game in the series has felt quite the same way this game does. Of course, there's no objective answer as to whether Mario Party 8 is a good, great, or just a middling game, because in reality, the answer will always be a subjective one. Mario Party 8, like its predecessors, is a game about competition, about getting angry with others while enjoying the chaos that comes from the absurdity of what's happening in the first place. In a weird way, Mario Party 8 shaped a part of who I am, and for that I'll always love this game. The memories I made playing this with my mom, sisters, friends, and family are ones I'll cherish for a lifetime. As you grow up, games like these where you sit down with your loved ones for a couple hours to duke it out in a battle for superstardom don't come by as often as they used to. So it's important to grittily snag those moments whenever you can. Whether or not you enjoy this game is your own decision to make. I have a lot of great memories with it. It was a huge part of my childhood growing up and one of the main reasons I fell in love with this series. Mario Party 8 is by no means a perfect game, but you can tell that there was genuinely love and care put into it. Even if you don't believe it's all that great, I know there's one thing we can all agree on. Thank God it didn't use the goddamn Wii Wheel!